My favourite journals are the ones that you just have to touch. You get that urge to open them up and you feel obsessed as you turn each page. But it isn't always easy to know how to create this effect. You sit at your desk and you think, I'm going to make one too, but what's the best way to do this? And where do you begin? Today I'm sharing my 12 best ideas for making your journal both tactile and interactive. And I brought along just a few of my finished journals to share lots and lots of examples today. The ideas in today's video are summarised in this resource sheet, and you can find this on Pinterest along with over 70 others for free, or just take a screenshot. There are two categories of ideas that I'm going to share today for making your journals tactile and interactive and basically get that ooh-ah effect, as I call it. There are the things that you can do as you make the journal. So things on the cover, in the cover, things on the spine, the way you have to put certain pages together as you put the signature in, those sorts of things. And then there are things that you can do as you decorate the pages. And I've got lots of examples of each. So I actually have about 36, maybe 40 examples to cover all of those, so both of those categories. But in case you're only interested in the ideas for how to make your journal really tactile and interactive by decorating the pages, I'll put a timestamp in the description box down below so you can flick just to the page decoration piece if that's what you want to do. I'm also going to mention so many ideas that I've covered in tutorials, so I will also link as many of those videos in the description box down below. So maybe watch to the end, have an idea or a thought about what you want to do, and then click on one of the videos down below and maybe make something up or play in your own way. Starting with a very full desk today, I'll begin with this category called journal production, and then we'll move on to the page decoration ideas. This is just one of the ideas within that journal production category, and it's about how to make your journal really stand out and feel beautifully lovely by doing different things to the cover. So why don't I very quickly walk through this bullet point. The first one is making your cover feel incredibly aged by waxing it, and on this one I used just little bits of old candle wax and a piece of paper, and I got a little travel iron out and I waxed it in, and it feels absolutely amazing. I was lucky because the candle wax was actually smelling of vanilla, so I think this one smells beautiful too. I've sewn around the edge, and as I've done that I've actually added a lining, so I just used some packing paper and a book page. So I have sewn around it. It's difficult to glue stuff to this on the inside, so if you want to line it, I think you probably do need to sew, but it makes it feel like something you want to touch and pick up, and I absolutely love adding wax to my projects. The second idea for making your journal very tactile, I actually shared in a video about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was using stud earrings as a brad in the centre of a flower, and it gives it this beautiful raised effect. You can make the flower yourself, you don't have to have ready-made or bought flowers, and in the video I'll link below I actually make these 5-petal flowers without a die, so that's really easy as well. But I've built this out into a topper for a journal, so that would go on the front of a journal. It would be hard to put inside because it's raised. You can see the earring really does lift it and make it absolutely stunning. I like this one with bronze. I've got one with purple here. And then what you can do is carry the colour through from the centre of the flower through your matting. I've used just an old atlas there, a map, a road map, and build it out and build it up, and that would work fantastically for the front of a journal. The third example for making your cover tactile is adding art to the front, which I've done with thicker paint on this one, and that gives it a slightly raised effect, so when you touch it you can feel those dots. But the point that I really want to make on here is you can add beads as a design feature to the front of your journals, and I've done a really simple one here. Again, all of these videos will be linked in the description box down below. That one is done in some interesting greens and browns. So this is called Putting Art on Your Journal, the video. And you can obviously change the colours and change the beads and change the pattern of the beads, anything you like. So here I've got some little, I think these are little sequins, and I've sewn them on. I used a bead needle, which again I show in that video, so everything is a step-by-step tutorial in my videos. And you can just get that raised effect, and it's different and it's tactile. It makes you want to touch the journal and then open it up and see what's inside. So following through with the use of beads, another example, you can see we've got lots of examples today. You could add a, what should we call this, a wrapped bead design to the front of your journal cover. I think I made this green one on camera, and it's just beads threaded onto, this is embroidery thread, and then wrapped around some cardstock to make a design. There's lots of sellotape on the back to glue it down as I wrapped the thread around it. But these are a wonderfully tactile solution for making the front of your journal look amazing. And I have got a journal fully covered with a wrapped bead design. Another example, see we're going to go fast today, is the use of a button which I've added to a tag here. This is quite an old journal, some of you may remember it. I've got a lot of texture in the threads that come out of the top of the tag. I made the tag as well, but the key feature here, I think, which is about it being interactive and tactile, is this very grungy bit of, actually it's old curtain, and then the green button that I've added on top just to pull out the greens that are slightly awash in this tag. So that is the front of a journal using quite a lot of texture there. I really like that one. Recently I did a video which has proven very popular called My Best Junk Journal, and although this isn't raised, the reason I wanted to include it as an example today for on your cover is you've got this window and then a picture behind. This is an old used junk mail envelope, or an old envelope that I've used to turn into a journal, and I just collaged around it and put different pictures behind the window, and I think it makes it feel like there's something going on. You can put anything behind your window. These came from books, so they're not digitals, this particular one, although I've got a bit of a digital here. So that was one idea. And then the last idea for your cover that I want to share today, I could go on and on, I've got loads, is to use quilted paper. So a few weeks ago I just had a play at quilting paper, which is very satisfying actually. A great way of making something that has got a little bit of a flap, and I used it in a subsequent video to wrap around some journals, and they become very robust and very, very tactile, definitely solid and quality. So using quilted paper was another example. So that is the first bullet point. I will go through this as fast as I can. I'm going to quickly cover off these other bullets, and then we'll move on to turning the pages on quite a lot of these so that I can illustrate those page decoration ideas. So we've talked about putting things on the cover of your journal. This example, this is my perfect pocket journal, is about putting things in the cover. So taking the cover, which in this example is made again from a large used junk mail envelope, but because it has an inside, I've used the cover itself as a pocket. So in here each time I'm able to put something, so maybe a journal card for writing. I've actually put a pocket on the front. That doesn't want to go back in. I've actually put a pocket on the front of this cover as well, and there's just a cheeky little journal card in that. So in each of these I've got something in the pocket, and it's not just the pocket at the front, because it's a large envelope that's been folded over, I've actually got another pocket at the back here, so you can put things in there. Let's see what I've got in some of these. So again, I've got a pocket on the front, but the idea that I'm illustrating is this pocket here, which is the cover. So you can get some really meaty items in there. This one's got more tactile elements in the form of a ribbon, space to write on the back. So you can really go to town putting things in these pockets, and it makes it have that chubby feel as well, which I think really helps if you want it to feel tactile. So what I've done, I've just put a nice little tag inside this one, and because there's a fair amount of blue on the cover, I've got a tag with blue on the back. So these are really fun to make. So I would say a great idea is to think about how to put things in the cover. I've even got a pocket in a pocket here. I'm pocket mad. And what you also have the opportunity to do in any of your journals is to add a closure that makes it tactile as well. And I've kind of fallen in love recently with ribbons to help a closure stay together. So this was my bare book page journal. I used a really vibrant red ribbon on this one as a great contrast to the colours here. So this journal has got a very strong, basically a large belly band that we've made, and I've put the ribbon through a couple of eyelets on each side of this wraparound piece. And I've actually even learned how to tie a ribbon properly, so that's even in the video as well. But you can see how on each of these, I think the ribbon really adds a special flourish. It's really smart. This one complements the teal on the border of the page at the front. When I use my favourite book here within the journal itself, I chose a bit of a, well, it's a deep colour as well, because that's a deep green, and I've got the same colour down here. But again, a beautiful ribbon for the closure. Or you can go maybe more for a romantic style. So I've got purples here. So I chose this, I think it's an organza ribbon. So ring the changes on the type of ribbon that you use or the way in which you use it. But ribbon can make it really tactile and feel luscious and give it that ooh-ah effect. When I made these bare book page journals, I also added a bit of an innovation. I added a twisted spine. So this was new. This is a way, this is probably a better example, this is a way of adding extra strength to the spine of your journal. It's very, very simple. So I thread my journals usually starting on the outside, so the ends are here, and I'm able to just wrap my needle around the two parts of the spine that you create. I go down to the bottom, tie a knot and come back up. And the reason that this, I think, is really great for journals is it gives you something that you can get hold of. It's a bit thicker, and because it's a bit thicker, you've got a bit more that you can use to add any dangles. So I've got a teal dangle on this one to match the teal again. I've just got a little bit of, so I've got teal and red, so it goes really well. And using colours to coordinate, I really think makes a journal look incredible as well. It really does level up your journaling. I've got some beautiful beads at the top and bottom of this one, and the twisted spine here. And again on this one, a little bit of bead on the spine and the twisted spine, and it just gives you something to get hold of without getting in the way when you open up the journal as well. And the fifth idea for making your journal tactile and interactive whilst putting together your journal, so at the journal production stage, is to think ahead and turn some of the pages so that you have a pocket either on the side or at the bottom. So that's what I did with this very delicate, this is absolutely beautiful piece of paper that I think is a music page. And if you think ahead, you can make pockets from, as I say, it's very delicate, this one, make pockets that are upturned, or have I got any side ones in here? I don't know, let's see if we can find a side one. Look at the green in here, it's absolutely gorgeous. Some of my older journals are the ones I love the most. Here I've got the page turned down at the side and just glued down. I've not even sewn around it. So I've got a pocket on the side as well. And the reason I say this is useful to think about pocket turned up at the journal production stage is you obviously want your pages to be bigger so that you can use the fold in to make your pocket. So 5 journal production stage ideas for making your journal tactile and interactive. So let's move to, I'll show you some of these. Let's move to the page decoration ideas, and boy have I got lots of examples to share for those. I've got you sitting next to me and I've been through a whole bunch of my journals and just marked with a little piece of paper the ideas that I want to try to illustrate today. So these are the bottom half of the resource sheet. These are the page decoration ideas, and I thought it would be impossible to go and hunt out individual ones of these. I thought what we could do is turn the pages where on each journal and then make sure that I look at the page that's marked so that we can cover off each of these points. So I hope this works for you. I hope you're comfy sitting next to me. So the first journal I made and filled quite some time ago. And what have we got? We've got a few pages in here that I want to use. So fabric for texture, I'm making it tactile, and actually a little bit of tactile glitter ribbon here, and it flips up, so we have movement, which I think is the first bullet. So something that folds up, and in fact this one folds up again, and then I've got a fold down. So why do it once when you can do it 3 times? So movement there, which is the first point under page decoration ideas. I won't do every page of every journal, we'd be here forever. That's an example of the upturned page that you need to plan ahead for, with lots of stuff in it and a fold out to the side. In this case what I've done is added an envelope that I've collaged, and that is itself the fold out. I need to do it this way because I really need both hands to point at things and illustrate, so I hope this works for you. I've got texture in a tag, so a piece of ephemera as we call it, and this one has got little bits of, it's actually old curtain that I've stuck on and then sewn over. I think that was a collaboration about fast flow stitching, so very freeform stitching. And again, a little bit of movement. This time it's a gusset that I've folded so that that folds down. So this one I wanted to talk about the bird. So this was a tatty bird with posh tails. Again, the video's linked below. I've got texture here because of all the conglomeration of beautiful pieces of paper and fabric, interesting ratty-tatty stitches, zigzag and straight, all sorts, just forming extra plumage, which I think works really well and gives you texture on a page. I've got, what have I got here? I've got just a little bit of activity going on up here, a banner style stick-on. There's so much on every page. I like really filling them. This was a Junk Journal January page fill exercise. Again, another fold out. Is that a flip up? So we've got movement and we've got a little pocket down here. Another pocket. Another handmade pocket, so a piece of ephemera. A handmade envelope here, I can see. And this time it's made to flap, so I've stuck the flap on at the back so you can get stuff in here. I've got tissue here, so tissue paper, and I think that is folded so that it's sort of a gusseted page, so you've got movement in and out. I love painting on book pages, so I've got a bit of that there. Not surprising it's in green. And I've got a vertical belly band here, so one of my snippets that's been sewn, and then I've just added that to the page so that I can tuck things behind. So that's a way of expanding the space so you can get more things in. So that's probably enough of that one. So I've talked about the tag on the front of this one. So in the cover, I've started off as I mean to go on. So I've got a fold out and quite a lot of activity in a collage here. Oh, I've got a fold out pocket on this one. So it's a pocket that flips out. There's an envelope. There's another envelope, but this pocket flips out like this. So it's a bit like 1, 2, 3, 4. How much movement have we got going on? It makes it really interesting. So again, a pocket that I really enjoyed making, and I've got extra little pieces in here. I've got some punched out leaves and a little pad of paper that I've made and attached there. So ridiculous specials, I think I put that under the category. Lots of ephemera. I've even made a side pocket and included that as a page, so you can put things in here. So this opens up and this side opens up here, and I think I've put a waxed envelope. So I've collaged the front. I can feel I've got wax on this, which again makes that item really tactile. I'll put that away later. Ephemera with more curtain, and I've used embossed paper because that's also tactile, and I've got fabric at the top of the tag, and that tag, rather than just putting it on the page or in a pocket, is itself then a flip out. Colour. I always use colour. I love colour. Fabric on my tag, fabric that I've stamped, and then I think I used I might have even used pens on some of these. That's when I've seen it's a really vibrant colour on the fabric. I think I've used pens, and I've got just a little mark making here. A super flip out. Why limit yourself? That's why I'm holding the camera with plenty of space for you to see. Are we actually on the... Yeah, we're on it. We're on camera. So I've got a pocket here and a page, an envelope here, and that flips down there. So we've got lots of movement on this one. Texture on my tag, texture on another tag, and a pocket. Texture just added as a belly band, so we can tuck a nice little collaged envelope behind that. So that's probably enough of that journal. I clearly started doing these flip outs early on. This is a very old journal, so my old videos show me actually creating some of these journal pages. I hope you're enjoying this, by the way. I do. Yeah, pockets. What am I trying to show in this one? So this was an example of another flip out with autumnal colours. Flip, 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 envelope at the end, flip, flip, bit of wordage here, a definition from, I think it's a children's dictionary, stamping and then painting the flower, fold in and fold. I also like to add, for interactivity, over the page items, so attachments sometimes with paper clips. So this is just an over the top of the page, something a bit different, and there it is actually a pocket, so you can see you can put things in here on either side, and I just gave it that vintage feel. So over the page, we don't always have to do a fold up, we can put things over the top. What we're showing on this one, I think I drew that. And again, flip outs and little places to tuck things. You can literally just staple on the side of a page and tuck something in. And obviously another pocket, because I'm obsessed with pockets. I really enjoyed putting these pages together. And, oh, I painted that nice and bright. So right at the beginning of my journal making journey, it was a bit more of a glue book thing going on. Let me show you these. I've got 4 that I've pulled out of my stores, and these are just, they are so tactile because they're super thick pages where I have just gone for gluing things on, gluing things down. I've got ribbon just on the front of this one, which is very tactile. It's not holding anything together. And this one's just an image with a bit of string. So I was clearly learning and just having a play. And this one's just got a little bit of wool because that's all I had at the time. This is an image from a book. I know that was a towel. I just cut it up and I just went crazy playing with colour and folding things. There's an envelope, but I've got a bit of that tactile feeling coming in, something to get hold of maybe on the edge of a page. And you might think I'm crazy, but I really enjoyed this. And this was part of my journey. And I'm sure your style and your journaling is evolving too. And that is the fun of it. That is the joy of it. On my quilted journal, so I made the quilted paper. You can feel a little bit of the edges here. There's just something to touch. I've added some extra jewellery, so a dangle. But the point I'm making here, I've got texture by using upholstery fabric, and I've got that texture coming through on the side of the pages, so the same little piece of fabric on the side here. Lots of side tucks in this one, and I've sewn around these pages but in a pale thread. On this one I've included a masterboard that I made and cut up. This was in an interesting shape, and I've got a little dangle on the side here, so you can add dangles on masterboard pieces. That actually has got space to write on the back. And also on the middle of this one I've added, you can see the dangle at the bottom, let me just find that. So I threaded from the inside when I bound the signature in on this one, and the bottom of the threads has got just a few beads on. I think there's about 5 on each. They're not quite lined up, so one's a bit lower than the other, which was intentional. I've got gold in here because I thought that would go with the beautiful red of the boho theme in here. There's a little bit of vellum here, which is also another tactile, I think, medium to use. A little bit of paper there. So some examples in one of my quilted journals. In a very old journal, so this again I made years ago, I used a Rupert Bear annual, and I loved it because it's really vibrant and you've got that red, and Rupert Bear was around when I was little and it just felt perfect. I've got red and white spots on the spine here. This was a very thick fabric style washi tape and a very simple spine. The point I want to make on this one is some of the movement that you can incorporate can be actually in your centre page by using a whole page and making a gusset so that you can fold and use the whole page. So I would fold that up. You can see I've got the stitches for the spine are here, and the extra gusset sits, if it needs to, on top of that. So you obviously don't bind this gusset bit in, otherwise you won't be able to pull it down. So adding movement, adding gusseted pages in the middle is a lot of fun, and it allows you to show a whole page when you otherwise might not be able to keep a whole page intact. One I made a long time ago, again here's my mushroom that I hand painted. I've got a few marked pages in here. So again I've got Rupert Goes Carol Singing, a gusseted page with him there. It's just about thinking and having ideas, isn't it? None of these are particularly difficult, but it's just about having variety. And I hope the list that I've given you, the resource sheet, and just showing you lots of examples is helpful. One thing I really like to do is use children's books because they have stunning images in them, and this is an example. I just wanted the, is it Thumbelina on the lily pad? I wanted to keep the picture intact, so I added that as a fold out, which I think is really nice. This was a journal that I made for a special friend. In fact, I ended up making 2, that's why I've still got this one. Chris Evert there, if you're a tennis fan. It's got lots of flip outs and fold outs, and I know that the other one that she got fit the bill, so I thought I'd keep one and give one away. So one that I've made with just a map as a cover, so very, very simple, again from quite some time ago. What have we got? Oh, using jigsaw pieces for a tactile page, just a small one, not too deep. The colours coordinate, you can see with the flower here and the piece of jigsaw, and I've got another one down here. That's one of my handmade flowers, but using jigsaw pieces to give depth. And I couldn't not share my favourite page of all time, which is this one. It's a flip out. Do you remember this one? If you've been around some time, let me know in the comments down below. Do you remember putting this one together? Using felt, I've got black felt, just something to touch, and it's really deep and dark. Adding texture by putting fairly thick or thick paper or thin cardstock in these little holes. An easy technique is to use butterflies for embellishment, and this is one of my favourites. Try to stick the body and not the wings, and just give them a little bit of a curl, and when you open the page you've just got it fluttering away. The colours resonate with the rest of the colours of this belly band. I really like that. Flipping up with an envelope, and I've added a piece of ribbon on the page and made it look like it's a kind of bow tie around the stem of the flower that I painted. If you love making journals and filling the pages, or just making them because you love paper, then check out this video here where I share my best tips and tricks for folding pages, making a journal. I really think you'd enjoy it, and I hope to see you soon.